And we are live. Welcome back to Melville After Hours. And as much as I love being the star of the show, people, today I loosen the reins off that high horse but never get off, as I'm excited to introduce our special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the closest thing I could find to Jim Carrey, Mr. Ed McVicker.
Thank you very much. Pleasure having me.
How you doing, Ed?
Here.
How you doing, Ed?
Thank you.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself, for the audience.
My name is Edward McVicker. I'm a student here at Ward Melville High School. I'm a senior. I'm a big part of the Players Club, hence this outfit. And yeah, that's about it. I'm a big music person mainly.
So you said you're part of the Ward Melville Players, so I think we want to delve into that. So you just had your 6-act show. So just tell me, in general, how'd it go? What were your thoughts on how it went?
I'm going to be honest, this year the One Acts Festival leading up to the actual show itself was a bit rocky. We had a lot of setbacks due to a lot of different factors, but ultimately we pulled it together at the end and we put on a banger show.
So anything that went wrong during the rehearsals, during the actual show, sort of getting a deep dive into what really goes on with the players.
Well, during rehearsals, like I said, we had a lot of setbacks, including the postponement of the show by the school board of education. But like I said, we also pulled it together at the end. And during the show, I wouldn't say anything went wrong. Something actually went so well that it caused something to go wrong. We filled up the LGI over capacity. We oversold the LGI. So we had to bring in chairs from outside to put in the wings of the LGI, which we had used in one of our shows, so we had to do some last-minute changes to the blocking in order to compensate for that. Yeah. And for my show, Home Shopping Studios Live, there is a prop that we have. It is a framed photograph of P. Diddy, signed by P. Diddy. And at the very end of the show, we have two people fighting over that photograph because they are just so passionate about P. Diddy.
I remember that.
And the night of the show, as they were fighting over it, it broke and glass fell all over the stage.
So that was hilarious. And the show, itself, the Philadelphia act, that was, it got into some pretty cultural topics, into some pretty, controversial topics as well. Had a little bit of, swearing too. But how did you? What did you guys do to sort of have that in the show? Because obviously, some schools won't allow language like that, like controversial topics to be brought up like that in their school with their place. How did you manage to get around that stuff?
Well, Players has a history of being a lot less, well, not a lot less, but less restrictive than your typical high school show or even the musicals here at Ward Melville. And a lot of that is due to us being in good standing with the higher-ups here at Ward Melville and having our advisor, Mr. Matros, who is a very trusted person, and also just constantly being in contact and communicating with the people in charge of Players.
So they were all right with you talking about, having pictures of P. Diddy and having these very controversial cultural topics on with the show?
Yes, we ran it all by them and they approved of it.
That's nice, that's nice. So you were in one act alone. You were in Home Shopping Studios Live, which I think hands down was one of the best of the 6 acts. It was the last act, and it put me on the floor. Put one of our audience members on the floor as well.
And
you play, obviously,
Debbie St. John.
Debbie St. John. So, how do you feel about your role as Debbie St. John? Really, what went through your mind, as Debbie St. John? What really got you in that mindset as Debbie St. John?
It's a tough question. I think a lot of it is just being a naturally big personality, just being outlandish and doing all these weird things, which was, I think, why I was chosen for the role in the first place. And just the comedy and the thought of what the hell am I doing right now? It really motivated me to just give it my all and be Debbie St. John.
Yeah. Going back to that sort of deep dive behind the scenes, was there a lot of people forgetting their lines and having to improv their own stuff? Any of that going on?
During the actual show, no. From what I saw, it was pretty spot on. There were 1 or 2 slight mishaps, but then again, when is there not?
So what about your players, your other players, your teammates? How do you feel about their roles in the show? How do you feel how everything went with all the players?
I think together as a whole, we just did amazing. Everybody got their stuff together. They absolutely killed it. They fit their roles. They became their characters. It was overall it was a players show. It was exactly what it should be, and it was great.
All right, we're going to take a small break here, folks. Don't go anywhere. You want to be a doctor and/or lawyer?
Yes.
Then you should come to the Warden Melville Speaker Series featuring large panels of various doctors and lawyers from across Long Island to get an understanding of what goes on behind these career paths. And welcome back, folks. So that was a really great deep dive into what goes on with your players, what you do specifically. So regarding players in the future, in their future endeavors, what's happening now? What's going on now?
Well, currently we're kind of in the middle of 2 shows, actually. The first one, which we've been working on for about a month now, is the Shakespeare play, which we like to call Twelfth Night. And that it is Shakespeare era, and it is our drama show that Players does yearly. We often switch between every other year. We do a drama and a comedy every other year. And this year it is drama year, so we chose Twelfth Night.
But to my understanding and minimal research and cherry picking data of 12th Night, like, isn't it supposed to be a comedy too, more or less?
Yeah, for the most part.
So like, right, like I'd say I'd ask if you break it down what happens in 12th Night, because it's coming up soon. So what goes on in 12th Night?
I'm going to be fully honest. I'm not sure, and I'm in the show. It is a very confusing show, but it's also quite funny. All I know is there's a guy dressing up as her brother, or no, there's a girl dressing up as her brother, and her brother, who she thought was dead, is actually alive and looking for her, and just a bunch of stuff. And then there's also a bunch of people playing pranks on another guy. And it's really funny, and I'm one of the people playing pranks on it.
So that's 12th Night. What about the comedy? What's going on with the comedy as well?
The 12th Night is the comedy.
Oh, 12th Night is the comedy.
Mm-hmm. Every year it switches between
the drama.
A drama and a comedy.
So what's the drama then?
The drama is 12th Night.
So it's a drama and a comedy.
Yeah, for the most part. We just call it the drama.
So you're working on 2 shows at once. So what's the second show then?
The second show is our annual murder mystery.
There it is.
So every year for the murder mystery, we have students either in the club or outside of the club. They write a murder mystery show and they submit it to Players. And at the end of submissions, the board members and directors of the show go through all the submissions and they choose which one they like the most, and then that's the one that is produced and performed.
Okay. And now, for the audience, as a member of Kaleidoscope, I'm working on this article about play in a day, which I'm really trying to beat out of Ed right here, and he's not really giving me the answers. So
Get into it.
Get into it. So what, like, plays in a day, are you also on that team of writers? Are you just specifically doing the acting? What are you contributing to Play in a Day that's coming up this spring?
Well, Plays in a Day, the idea of it is that everything is figured out and done in one day, and there's no pre-planning ahead of time. So I'm hopefully going to be writing, directing, and acting for it.
So all 3?
All 3, yes. Like I did 2 years ago for my sophomore year.
Okay.
So that is my hope, again, for this year. And I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a really good show.
All right. And I think we'll end it off there for today's show. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Come see 12th Night. Come see 12th Night, May 2nd and 3rd, Plays in a Day, May 30th. And Murder Mystery Stage Fright, written by yours truly, May 16th and 17th.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.